on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Thee CrazyFaceUno Podcast, where everyone has a story and everyone's story matters. What's your story? If you'd like to support the show and help us tell more stories like the one you're about to hear, please visit CrazyFaceUno.com today, where you can purchase items from our online store or donate. As always, I'm your host, Shane McNeely, and before I introduce my guest today, I want to first tell you about our next live stream coming up later, tomorrow, actually. So if you're listening to this on Thanksgiving Day, it's at 3 p.m. today, Eastern Time, Thanksgiving edition. That's Thursday, Thanksgiving Day at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be taking calls and listening to your favorite Thanksgiving memories, and of course, you're all about the things you are thankful for. If you prefer to write out or send us your Thanksgiving memories and the things you're thankful for, go ahead and do that. Email us at info@crazyfaceuno.com or send us a message on Instagram or Facebook. Boy, are you in for a treat today. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our guest today, Tessa Pauls. Welcome, Tessa. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
A little longer intro. Some little quirky, unfortunate mistakes, but hey, that's the life, right?
Yeah.
It's just part of the way it goes. We don't really edit things unless I mess it up really bad in the beginning. So I just like to put it all out there. So here we are, guys.
Absolutely.
Tessa, how are you today?
I am, you know what? It has been a day of lots of ups and lots of downs.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
So I figured that you would get into this a little later, but as an Enneagram Type 4, I feel most alive on days like today. And so it just kind of is how life is for me.
Yeah, I am also a 4, I believe. So
Yeah. So
I can kind of relate. Janelle was kind of the one that helped me kind of figure some of this out. So.
Okay, I'm gonna admit something a little bit.
Yes.
So as like you and Janelle got reconnected and we're talking, and she was like, Shane and I have been talking for like 4 days straight incessantly, and it's kind of giving me a lot of life, but I really think that he's an Enneagram Type 4, and here are the things.
Yeah.
Here are the things that I feel defines him as a 4. But you, who know that you are a 4, can you just confirm or deny some of these hypotheses?
Yeah, it's funny.
We sat in her apartment drinking a full bottle of wine and discussing your Enneagram type.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome.
These are things that I feel make him really likely to be a Type 4, but I clearly don't know because that's not my type.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel?
Yeah, that is so funny. Yeah, I got off. So we did a pod. So, all right, if you're listening, Tessa is Janelle Pauls, who we've done a couple podcasts with. She's helped me with some things on the backside of things and kind of helped me filter some of my brain a little bit at times. And
you guys are really good at it.
Yeah.
At both having the cluttered brain and also helping sort someone else's brain.
There is 1,000 things going through my brain at one time, and I'm sure you understand that.
Totally.
Yeah. But yeah, so we've talked about it there, and I got off the podcast and we'd been talking, for those 4 days that she was talking about, and I took the test online, and it told me I was a 2, and I was like, it kind of relates. I mean, some of it, but there's a few things I was just like, man, I don't know. So the way the test works, if you're listening, there's a bunch of questions they give you, and then they give you numbers that kind of match these different Enneagram numbers, 1 through 9. And so I had 15s, which is kind of the average, I don't know, 4 different ones I had right around that 13 to 16 mark. It was really closely related. Yeah. And anyway, I wasn't sold, so I bought the book, the Audible book. Man, I do this every time.
The Road Back to You.
Yes, The Road Back to You.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was awesome.
That's a really good one to listen to discover your type, I feel.
Yeah.
And then the kind of next step that I recommend to a lot of people, because really, if you're into the Enneagram, you are into the Enneagram.
Yeah.
There's no halfway.
Right.
You're not like, oh, this is interesting, this is my type, I kind of whatever. There's no like casual Enneagram partaker.
Right.
You're fully in or you're fully out.
Yeah.
And so The Road Back to You is a really good way to just kind of learn about the types and find the one that you feel suits you the best. Or a lot of people have experienced finding their own type through the one that hurts them the most. Like if there's a type that you really don't like, there's a pretty good chance that that's you. Yeah. Because you're seeing all of your faults spilled out in front of you.
Yeah.
And really reacting against that. But it's because it's what you recognize the most. And so The Road Back to You is a really good tool to use in that. But the kind of second step that I recommend for a lot of people is The Sacred Enneagram by Chris Hewerts.
All right, I'm writing this down. The Sacred.
Yeah, The Sacred Enneagram. And it speaks through kind of the systems of how the Enneagram works, like the triads and the paths of integration and disintegration of like stress and health, and kind of talks through how each type reacts to the world. And it's a really good second point where like you kind of understand the types a little bit, and it does start with describing each of the types, but it doesn't say like this is the chapter on type 1, and it really helps. It like goes through all of them concurrently, and so it helps you not only understand the Enneagram as a whole tool, but it also helps you have a lot of compassion for all the other types, and like see the ways that the other types have been broken since childhood, and also helps you see their paths to redemption.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I need to check that one out. It's
absolutely incredible.
That might be my weekend book I just buy, and I have a credit available on Audible right now, so maybe I'll just pick that one up and cruise through it. Yeah, Dana and I, my wife, we were sitting. We had a weekend away in Miami. Had a free hotel room for 2 nights. Couldn't beat that. So. We're like lounging on the beach, and I was listening to this, and I did the classic thing, that you're not supposed to. They talk about in the book or whatever. I was like, ha ha ha, like I know what you are, like, and but I couldn't help myself. She's a 9. She's a solid 9. Yeah.
Ooh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, she's perfect for me.
Yeah.
She helps kind of balance me out a little bit.
Yeah, totally. So there are a lot of ways that 9s and 4s can really like balance each other out. Like I'm sure that she's a really like soothing and kind of evening source for you.
Yes.
But there are also a lot of really specific ways that 9s can hurt 4s. And in that, like in some ways 4s need conflict.
Yeah.
Because they need the like, I was actually just talking about this with a 9 friend of mine, of like I need conflict because I feel so much stress and tension around this one conversation that we had 3 weeks ago. And like I know that he's never going to bring it up. Because he's like literally called a peacemaker. So that's never going to happen, and so I have to be the one to do it, but then that's not fair, and then there's like all of this. Right. And like because
you feel like we feel like the bad guy, like by bringing it up. It's like, well, but yet we're not necessarily, at least for myself, like between me and Dana, like we have really good communication, which is good.
That's so wonderful.
But it's also, like I feel that a lot, where I'm like, I feel like the bad guy, where I'm like, I'm not your mom, I'm not your dad, like I'm not the one that needs to tell you to like pick up after yourself, or like whatever it is, or like I don't want to be the one to do that. I feel like the bad guy every time, or I don't know, like,
and like why is the burden of emotional labor on me
to
make this happen? Totally.
But I
Totally.
but I do that a lot. Like, I don't know. We're pretty good about
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think our
That's
biggest
really
thing
good.
is like her wanting to like settle down and just like sit and relax, and like she's perfectly content doing that, and I'm like, let's go, you know, like I feed
Yeah.
off of her and feed off of her energy, you know, and like the energy of people
Mm-hmm.
around me. Like when people are like happy and pumped up, like I'm happy and pumped up, you know.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
people are sad, and I feel, I'm sure you get this, I feel people's emotions very, very closely, and
Yeah. Very acutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're real. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I have like that sixth sense with people where you're like, I don't know, something wasn't right there. Like, I don't know. At least I feel
Yeah.
that way. Um,
Yeah. I
but
for sure have like I've had conversations with someone where I'm like, are you okay? Like something
yeah,
feels a little off.
yeah,
And they're like, no, I'm fine. And then 10 minutes later, they're like, yeah, actually, this thing is
ah,
bugging me.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just checking.
But but again, it's like a blessing and a curse at the same time, because
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, I just wish I was completely oblivious to this person being really off put by me right now, you know, or
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah, totally.
or yeah, like you've got an attitude and I don't really like it, you know, like I would really like, and sometimes I have trouble holding that in and keeping that to myself, and at the same
Yeah.
time then I go back and I think about what I said later, and I like beat myself up
Mm-hmm.
about it. It's like the classic Ford
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
So,
melancholy feelings, I'm like that. I
oh,
get
yeah.
those really strongly. Those are
Oh, yeah.
all the
Those
time.
blue days,
Yeah, yeah,
they get you.
yep,
But
sure do.
you also feel grateful for them
Mm.
in a weird way, right? Like
Yeah,
to,
if I can come
and
out of them.
to me, I'm like and this is something that Chris Hewart said on a podcast episode that I was listening to. I think it was on the Sleeping at Last podcast episode about the Atlas Type 4
Mm.
song, which those are an incredible source of Enneagram knowledge.
Yeah, I just heard about those. I haven't listened to them yet. I want to listen to them.
It's a solid like 20 hours of material.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's so gorgeous, and like I honestly have never felt more seen and understood as an Enneagram Type 4, which like Type 4 is all about like feeling like you don't have a unique identity and feeling like you're not
But crave being unique.
but craving uniqueness. And so like there's in the song about Type 4s, the song ends with the lyrics, what if we already are what we've been dying to become.
Ouch.
Which in and of itself isn't a lot. But then it goes on and says, in certain light, I can plainly see magnificence hidden in you and maybe even in me. And so the kind of blessing and curse of the Type 4 is saying, I can see how every single person on this earth is beautiful and unique and glorious. And I can't see that within myself.
That's pretty. That hits home.
Yeah.
That's
So the first
that's
time I listened
real.
to that song, I was like, I was formerly in several different jobs and was just driving all the time.
Sure.
And so I would listen to like books and music and everything in the car. And so like most of my media consumption was while I was driving. And so I listened to that for the first time, and while I was in the car, and I had to pull over because I was like hyperventilating because I was crying so bad, and I was like, oh my God. And I like have honestly never felt more seen and understood as I did in that moment. And it just unlatched something in me, and I felt so swaddled almost.
Yeah, sure.
Like past being like warm and felt and understood, I felt like this really visceral, like physical presence with me, and just kind of like a kid being wrapped up after being hurt. Aww. in your parents' arms, and it was so surreal. And it that alone healed a lot of like childhood trauma.
Yeah, Yeah,
Yeah,
man, crazy.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued. I'm really into it. You know, Dana and I eventually, like, she listened to the 9. I was like, you got to listen to this. So you just listened to it with me. Like, I think it was like on our way back that day. You know, like from
Mm-hmm.
Miami,
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, now I want you to listen to, like, we listened to one, listened to 2s because that was like one that, you know, the one that I was confused about, and then the 4s,
Mm-hmm.
and she
Mm-hmm.
was like, you're a 4. You're a hard 4. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. Glad we got
Yeah.
that squared away.
Janelle once described me as the forest 4 that ever forward, and I was like, wow, okay, harsh, but true. I'm gonna take that, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
be upset about
Yeah.
it.
I love it. It does
Yeah.
feel good to, like, have, quote, an identity of some sort, you know, something to go back on. But I don't know if you
Yeah.
feel this way at all, but, like, I don't like knowing that it's just part of who I am. You know? Like the feelings, the melancholy, like sometimes I'm like, well, if it's just who I am, then I got to pull myself out of this, you know? Like I know it now, like which is part of the
Oh.
reason. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
like there's
I
things
get
that
what you're saying.
I don't like about, like, I don't want to be emotional. I don't want to be moody. I don't want to be like melancholy. I don't know. Like there's just things when I catch myself and I'm like, is this real, or is this like just part of like the foreignness of me coming? You know what I mean? Like not that it's not real, but is it, how do I say it?
No,
Um
I get what you're saying. I totally understand. I went through a time where my fourness felt like a burden.
mm, yeah, maybe that's
And
it.
like enneagrams, enneagram descriptions that are not written by 4s just are really harsh. Like 4s get a really bad rap,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, they're so moody, they're so temperamental, they're so, like
Yeah.
so dramatic, so everything. But
Yeah.
like they seem to not understand that that's like literally built into the fiber of who we are.
I know.
Um,
I haven't
and
accepted it
that,
yet, baby.
and so
That's
I
it.
spent, yeah. And so I went through this really like dark time with the Enneagram where it just felt so heavy of like, well, this is just my cross to bear. Like, this is just my lot in life, and it fucking sucks.
Right?
And and that I went through that whole thing of like, this isn't fair that I
Yeah.
have to do this. And then I realized and came to this conclusion of like, 4s have a lot of gifts that they can offer the world.
Yeah.
And like the gifts we can offer is empathy and emotional
Mm-hmm.
presence. And like I had one of my friends, um, it was Tyler Grant.
Yeah.
Tyler, he for a long time thought that he was a 2, wing 3, and then realized that he's a 3 wing 2.
Ah.
And so I was like, yeah, you're the most driven human I know.
Yeah.
But sure, yeah, you can think you're a 2, that's fine. Um, but I was talking through like just a really, I was talking about a way that I had like been kind of showing up and in some ways mentoring or leading or just kind of supporting one of my friends through this like really tragic and horrible thing that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, Tessa, you're just in like, you're a person that has just more emotional stamina that like I would not be able to do a tenth of what you have said that you've done for her.
Yeah.
And your gift of emotional stamina to stay through all of that with that person, like I don't get it. Like
Yeah.
I love that in you because I don't understand it,
Sure.
and I just can't. And he at one point was like, I'm sorry if there have been times that you needed that from me and I just couldn't give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was like the most beautiful and true apology I ever could have asked for, because
Yeah.
there have been times when I'm like Tyler, I need you to be distraught with me. And he's like, oh, that's a little upsetting. And I'm like, no, it's the worst.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of the reality of the 4 is that everything is
when it's a fire, it's a fire. Like,
yeah,
it's either it's on or it's off.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can shut down my emotions for a minute, but I know that that's a sign of unhealthiness in me. And so, like, if I'm numbing things out, I know that I'm hiding from something, and I'm not going to be able to hide that forever.
Yeah. It comes and rears its ugly head a little bit later.
In real big ways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
real big ways.
Yeah. 100%.
Totally.
Yeah, but I think that's when it's so great to have those people to talk to, you know. I'm an external processor anyway, and I don't know if that's just a 4 thing or if it's a me thing, but you know, like I need those like grounded people where I can go, all right, am I irrational? Is this irrational right now? Like, help me process this, you know? I've had a couple things like that, even in recent, you know, like months and whatnot, like, where I felt slighted by somebody and I'm like, really? Like, and I, you know, like, you just like want to like cut the cord, done, you know? Yeah. And
I wash my hands of you, sir.
Yeah, like,
Totally.
why are you playing me like that? Why are you doing me like that? Whatever. But yeah, it's like you want to like go to the extreme, address it, whatever, and sometimes it's just like, you know what? After processing that and settling down a little bit and not being reactionary to my emotions, I've decided that we're not going to do what I wanted to do originally. Yeah.
I come to the conclusion that was a bad plan.
Yes. It was a great plan, but maybe a little extreme. It was a well-processed, well-thought-out plan.
Yeah. My phone call is not called for.
Yeah, right?
Turns out.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't mean to do that?
Something that I had to learn how to do was to kind of give myself permission to be irrational and recognize the irrationality in the moment and say, like, if I'm processing something with someone and I have found it easier if I say, I know this is an irrational thought, but here's what I'm feeling right now, and I'm going to talk myself out of this in a second. I just need to say it out loud.
Yeah. Sometimes it's so, but you feel it so strongly. Like, like to the core of who you are. Yeah. Crazy.
I'm also interested, and this might open a whole big can of worms, and that's fine. But I'm interested to know if your, like, if your rebuff against your own emotionality is because of, like, a presence of, like, a set idea of what masculinity is. Like, if it's rolled into kind of the gendered conservative Christian world.
Yeah, I think it was for a long time. I don't know that it is anymore. If that makes
a really convoluted way to ask that, but
no, I've really thought about that a lot. Just the effects of the growing up in a very conservative Christian evangelical world, you know, of not
where
there's like
men are providers and women are emotional caretakers
and I feel that very much. Like, I still struggle with that, and that's just something that's rooted within me that I haven't quite released. I've gotten closer, you know. I've definitely gotten closer to like letting some of that go, but I haven't got there yet. Definitely, like.
I mean, it's all a process for all of us.
Yeah, I like, I don't know, it's that whole part, you know, I've talked a lot about on the podcast and whatnot, but the thing that's really interesting to me is, the rules and these, like, I think there is some of that's underlying that I haven't quite, like, uncovered and dug up, but I don't necessarily think it's with this specific thing and me like pushing back against that. I'm pretty accepting of like being an emotional guy, right? Like, I cry. Like, I'm not afraid to be like, I cry, but I can also kick your ass. So what are you gonna do about it? You know? So like,
so deal with it.
Yeah, like at the same time, like,
I cry as I'm kicking your but don't worry.
I probably will. Afterwards, I probably will. Like, it's that extreme emotion. It's like, if I'm happy, I cry. If I'm sad, I cry. If I'm mad, I cry. Like, all of it. Like, that's just how if I get to that point, it's happening. So yeah, you're probably right. I probably will cry at the end, like afterwards, and once the adrenaline comes down, I'll be remorseful and regretful for what I've done. But yeah, like I don't feel like there are parts of. It's funny because I don't see masculinity that way necessarily, but I think that there's like things that are rooted within me that I'm like, I don't see it that way, but I have these visceral reactions that are like I'm not cognizant of, that are just kind of like buried. And so like
there's a lot of like indoctrinating that has happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, so I think some of my, evangelical roots for sure have come out in that way. And yeah, I don't know, that's an interesting thing. And I definitely should probably unpack that a little bit more at some point in time.
Yeah, I mean, we all have baggage, right?
Yeah, we got plenty of it. Just pack it on, carry it around, backpack, couple duffel bags, computer bag, whatever,
Some roller bags all tied together.
Yeah.
Like 9 of them. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. A couple computers with hard drives because we backed it up. And now we got the cloud, though, so, we just got that cloud that you can just start shoving stuff up into the cloud and take it everywhere you go.
Yup. That's so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually was just texting with one of my friends. He's a younger male student of mine.
Sure.
And he was like, yeah, I really want to, like, I feel really stale at my home parish, and I don't want the kind of whatever, and so he's a church musician, and so he's singing in different places. He's like, I just want to do something fun for Christmas for once. And I was like, man, you're 18 and you're already this jaded.
Right?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But also, I was a church musician for several years and got super bogged down in all the like work and all the like ephemeral theology and kind of that world, and I forgot that it's about relationships. And I had to leave working in churches in order to keep my faith. Yeah. And that's a really tough thing. But I said to him, I was like, someday let's have a longer conversation about religious and spiritual trauma.
Yeah, seriously,
like,
it's a thing. I like hear things sometimes, like there's, that's very much still a part of my world. You may not have heard, like I just don't really, I don't call myself a Christian anymore. It's not something I relate to. I don't go to church anymore. Those like fundamental like pieces, there's a lot that I very much value and still hold true and hold on to, but it just looks different, and I talk about it differently. And I don't think that, honestly, things are too much different, but I've ran away from those evangelical roots in so many ways. And
well, and in so many ways that world is built on such toxic ideals and such narrow ideas of what like so many things are about. Like, it's, I don't know, it's so much, and there's a lot of conversations happening about and around Bethel right now that are just so convoluted, and there's a lot of toxicity being called out about Bethel, and kind of how damaging it all has been, especially in regards to diversity and inclusion. And like, how interesting that your Office of Diversity Inclusion had one whole person of color. And like, that's not cool. And we're talking about race, we're talking about LGBTQ plus community, we're talking about like all of these different things. Like, you can't there's just a lot of toxicity that was built up around Bethel, and especially I mean, this is going to be some hot takes for some old Bethel friends of yours, but with the new administration has come a lot of poison. So the new president came in partway through my time at Bethel.
Okay. Are you working at Bethel? I don't even know. What are you? Is this still like a community that you're part of? Sorry, like we haven't even got into that. We just went for it, which I love.
Yeah, totally.
But I'm like, I don't even know what you do, to be completely honest. So let's get into that. But let's set the let's set the tone here. Let's set the pace.
Yeah. So my family, we lived in Indiana for a really long time when I was little. And then we moved to Portland so my parents and I moved to Portland when I was 12.
Okay.
And so we lived in Portland for about 8 years. I came back here for school, for Bethel.
Okay.
And then partway through my time at Bethel, my mom started working at Bethel. So they moved back. Which means that I had a really different upbringing from the rest of my siblings because I'm 5, 10, and 12 years younger than them.
Right.
Which means they all were out of the house when we moved to Oregon.
Sure.
It was just my parents and me. So, and that's, I mean, if you think about 12, like, that's where your most formative years begin.
Yeah.
And so I feel like in a lot of ways I became who I am in Portland, which was just a very fundamentally different area than tiny little Middlebury that's mostly Amish and isn't even an actual town. So, like, that's where everyone else had their upbringing, and mine was in big, scary Portland, you know?
Yeah.
So I just have a lot of, like, fundamentally different understandings of the world from my family, I feel.
Sure.
Which I think contributes a lot to my fourness because I feel like the black sheep. I feel like the very different one.
Yeah.
But so I came back here for Bethel, mostly for the music department. So I went to Bethel from 2011, fall of 2011 to spring of 2015. So I went mainly specifically it was for Bob Ham, because he had been such a good mentor to my older siblings, and he told me, he was like, I want to be your dad when you're here. Like, I've known you and loved you since you were 10, and I want to be your dad.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I came to Bethel, started out as a vocal performance music ed double major, eventually learned that I don't actually want to teach music classes, so I dropped my ed major, picked up a psych minor, and graduated in 4 years instead of 4.5.
Way to go. Nice. That's awesome.
So yeah, it was great. But my first year, my freshman year, was the first year that Bob found out that he had cancer. And so and that was in October. So my entire first year was just, Bob has cancer, he's going to chemo, he's getting through it, we're going to do this together.
Yeah.
That was the entire focus of my freshman year.
That had to be hard.
Yeah. And then
especially with him being such a like pivotal role in where you were and like why you were there.
Oh, totally. And so I kind of felt like the foundation of my purpose there was shaken a little bit. And it was a really difficult time for me that year. And, like first year at college, away from your family, a whole, country away is always going to be rough anyway. But that year, Tyler was living with my family in Portland. So we essentially just like switched kids.
That's so funny.
Tyler's parents really adopted me.
Yeah.
And took me in. And I started going to their house church, and I really loved that. It was just such a great community.
Yeah.
I was the youngest by like 35 years, and I didn't care, and they didn't care, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was just this really wonderful place, and really like formative in that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, sorry, I'm getting some timelines.
You're good.
Really squared away. So then I went back for sophomore year. Bob was in remission, but my voice teacher had a kind of stroke-ish thing, and so he was still teaching, but it was really difficult because he just couldn't function at the same level anymore.
Yeah.
And so most, like, voice lessons as a voice major is pretty much the point of why you're there.
Right.
And I had to do a lot of work myself,
mm-hmm.
as someone who had really only been in voice lessons for 1 year of her life. And so that was really difficult too. And then my in between sophomore and junior year is when Tyler's dad was killed.
Right.
And in a drunk driving accident.
Yeah.
And so that was a really formative thing too. And that year, so then it was just like, and that year I was put into a different voice teacher studio. And it was like the one that I had purposefully avoided because I felt like he was too harsh for me. And then I was just kind of like tossed into his studio and showed up on the first day of classes. And he was like, hey, you have a recital hearing in 5 weeks. This is where you sing all of your repertoire memorized for us, and we tell you if you're good enough to have a recital. And I was like, oh. And
well, then.
Right.
Kind of a kick in the pants, but maybe it's.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get.
So
maybe it was good.
It was really good. Like,
yeah.
That was
I was gonna say.
Like, I worked harder during those 5 weeks than I've worked on anything ever.
That's I feel like that's a 4 thing
to
too.
this date. I think we had about a semester's worth of lessons in those first 5 weeks.
Wow.
And he was like, if you need me to come at 9 o'clock at night, I'm going to come to campus at 9 o'clock at night. We're going to have a voice lesson. I don't care. We have work.
Yeah.
to do. And so that was really wonderful.
That's great.
And yeah. he literally said to me, hey, I'm going to get to know you later. It's going to be fine. We have too much to do. And so we got to know each other really well, and he became kind of a surrogate dad to me as well.
That's awesome.
And it was really lovely. But we did all of that. My junior year was easily my best year at Bethel, and I had some really great roommates that are like still my family today. In fact, I live with one of them.
That's
today.
Great. That's awesome.
So it's like her and her family and whatever, but they're easily the people that I'm closest to from my time at Bethel. And then my senior year, but two of the three of them were a year older, so they graduated. So then senior year, I kind of didn't really have a ton of friends because I had been best friends with them. And dropped out of my ed degree, or ed major. And so I wasn't in the same classes as the people that I had my freshman and sophomore years.
Yeah.
Because those courses were all kind of done.
Finding a whole new group of people and...
Yeah, and so I was like trying to build community as a senior, which was really weird because I was also preparing to leave. And
right.
It was just this very like strange time. And that was the year that Bob's cancer came back. And so the music faculty leaned a lot on the students for emotional support, which was not fair. And there was just like this whole big, and like in that time was when the administration changed. And
Gotcha.
There was this like whole other environment. And so it was a really like difficult and toxic environment. And in a lot of ways has gotten a lot worse. And the music department is falling apart. And like there were 7 full-time faculty, and now there's I think 3.
Yeah. That's a good chunk that's missing.
Yeah, totally. So, and like, I'm really good friends with someone who was in that position for a while and has stepped away. And he and I kind of talked about what happened my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in...
Like in regards to like the faculty and stuff, or the administration change?
All of it.
Yeah.
Because all of it was together. And
all of the above.
Yeah. Part of what was so awful was that Bob was unwell in so many ways, but he needed the choir, but the choir needed to have a stable director.
Yeah.
And that wasn't Bob.
So it just created this...
It was this like
chaos
really
in some ways.
Yeah. This really tactile tension, as well as this like really crazy, chaotic, like I'm headed into the choir room and I don't know who's directing us today,
right.
Or if we have a director, because Bob was not often well enough to come into school, but he wouldn't step down because he needed us emotionally.
Yeah.
And that's not fair.
Yeah.
So us seniors were like, cool, I need to graduate also.
Yeah.
I get that you're going through literal actual hell.
Yeah. Which is like the...
But it shouldn't be my job to tell you to give me my degree.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I feel like it's I feel like that's like a Bethel thing. I feel like it would be like a very versus, you know, if you were at a state college or a state university, you know, it would be different.
Immediate medical leave.
Yeah. And it wouldn't
protect the students at all costs.
Right. And and that sounds bad too, harsh. You know, there's got to be a middle ground a little bit, but at the same time it's like
totally.
Yeah, that's like just a tough spot to be in.
Yeah. But then administration finally stepped in and asked Bob to go on medical leave, and at that point he made it very clear to us that it wasn't his idea or his choice.
Yeah.
And so then we felt the burden of like
loyalty of who to
the burden of loyalty for sure. And we also felt really grateful to administration for finally doing something about it, but also he was unwell in like November and they didn't do anything until spring break. That's 3 months.
Yeah.
That's half a school year.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Floundering, and like being a part of a smaller choir that did a lot of off-campus gigs, like we were scheduling our own gigs, we were figuring out transportation ourselves, we were learning rep by ourselves, we were, you know, doing all of and it was
trial by fire, and yet
horrible.
At the same time, like that, especially in the music arena genre, it's like you need those, you know, those pieces and those things that there's expertise for people to set you up for success for the future, to build your portfolio, to, you know, these are like things that are important for not just to graduate, but for your life afterwards, depending on what you want to do.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
And I've had classmates who were also voice majors or music majors, or even just heavily involved in the music department, that are like, yeah, I wouldn't drink as much as I do now if it wasn't for that year. Or like, I wouldn't have these really terrible coping mechanisms if they hadn't been developed my senior year.
Yeah.
Like, it was just hell.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And there's a lot of like baggage and trauma that's been just created out of that for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because of the like, oh, we're all Christians, so we all have to be nice. And I'm like, that's not what that means.
Right. Yeah.
That's not at all what that means.
Yeah.
It often means that you're not being nice just to be nice. You're not being polite. Like, politeness doesn't have a lot to do with Christianity, I feel, and they've been created into this weird synonymous thing that they're not.
Yeah, it's a weird balance. And
Yeah.
you know, even outside of that, like I've created this platform, something that, you know, it's like doing good, making a difference, you know, empower, love, celebrate. And what does that mean? What's that look like? How do I, you know, like how do I manage my emotions? You know, I have strong emotions. I've talked about it multiple times. The biggest one is like people on the road drive me crazy, you know, like a finger out of, you know, the right field is not out of the realm of possibilities. And it's not something that you know, I'm proud of. It's something that I'm trying to, you know, fix and do differently. And but I'm not perfect.
Oh,
And
yeah, I feel that.
but how to balance, you know, that exact thing of how to balance those emotions, how to balance having strong opinions, not agreeing with someone. What does that look like in so many ways, you know? And honestly, one of the things that comes to mind is Jesus going into the temple and tipping over the table, and you know, he's pissed. He was pissed, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like this righteous anger, and we don't talk about that. You know, it's not something that's really talked about a lot in like evangelical church culture, I don't feel like. And then but even someone who feels, I feel very removed from that culture. I've you know, I don't, but I still look at that and go like, you know what? He was an awesome dude. Like he's right. Like look at this. Like here's an example of someone that is both good, doing great things, being positive, having impact and influence and whatever, but also sticking up and standing up for those and the things that he believes in, and you know, a way in which isn't necessarily, no, it's fine. It's just not in a way that's like necessarily socially acceptable. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Or even just feeling the kind of permission to have big emotions. Like,
yes,
Jesus had big emotions when he was flipping the tables. He had big emotions when he was weeping in the garden. He had, you know, like, he had big emotions when he was hanging on the cross and screaming, "Why have you forsaken me?" Like, those aren't, and we've minimized. So, I read. I'm saying what I was going to say is I think that Christianity, like Christian culture, has minimized the breadth of feelings that we allow people to have. And as someone who grew up with really big thoughts and really big feelings all my life, like I just felt so acutely that I was not allowed a place at the table. And my thoughts and feelings weren't welcome.
Yeah.
And you need to be accepted by being smaller. And that's not something that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Like, I am interested in full authenticity. Like, I'm gonna bring you my joy, but I'm also gonna bring you my shit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna bring you my baggage. I'm gonna bring you all my happiness. You're gonna get all of me.
Yeah.
And that's not.
Yep.
You know, that's not optional.
No, I don't feel that it's optional either. And this is where, like, our conversation before, I think some of it's those things, right? Like I feel like a lot sometimes. I feel like I'm trying to, and I don't, again, I'm trying to figure out if it is really related back to what you're kind of talking to, and like the Christian roots and those. I just don't know. Like maybe it is, and I'm just not aware of it, you know, and I haven't been aware of it. It could be. And this is like, you know, at least I'm assuming you're probably similar to me. Like this is going to be one of those things that like sits in my head for a while that I'm going to think about and regurgitate and process, and eventually I'm going to come out with an opinion and a thought on it. But this is new, and I've never thought about it that way. But I think those are the things that when I look at my fourness in these lots of emotions, and not in a masculine way, right? It's not that. That's not the part. That's why I keep going back and forth. It's in a way that like I think I've tried for a really long time to mask my emotions in some ways, and to like be this like perfect person, and be authentic at the same time, which are like fighting at odds with each other.
Absolutely not possible.
Yeah, they're like ramming your head through a wall. And so I think that I've been trying to, quote, fix some of those like these things about me. So like hearing that like, oh, this is just who you are is like, well, shit, like now what, you know? And I think that that's part of it's where I'm like, really, like, here you go, like here you're like how, and I do think that it is my responsibility to be in control of those emotions and to know when the right time is, and not just to, you know, vomit myself out into the world and to everyone. But there's a fine line.
Or manage though.
Yeah.
Like
well, manage. Like, I think I see those. Yeah, control sounds a little more extreme than manage, but I think manage is what I'm going for. Maybe that's just a better usage of words.
Yeah, because I feel those as like really separate concepts of control and manage. So like control to me is like if someone hurts your feelings, don't feel upset. And manage is find an appropriate time and way to express your upsetness.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I feel like manage allows you to feel the fullness of what it is without having inappropriate or knee-jerk reactions. Like today at work, someone said something and it was unnecessarily personal, and it hurt my feelings a lot. So I was sitting with someone and I was like, hey, I'm gonna take a walk. And for 5 minutes I called my mom and I was like, Mom, and
right.
like weeping and really upset for 5 minutes. And I took a walk and I left the building, and then I came back and I was fine. Like I was able to, and so that's
your way of managing that. Yeah, see, that's I completely agree with you with that. Like that's more what I mean. I guess. Yeah, I definitely control has a different connotation to it than manage for sure.
Sorry, I have like a really visceral reaction against like, because I always have this feeling of like people are telling me to control myself, and I'm like,
control yourself.
If you think this is gonna be tamed, then you're very wrong.
Yeah, right. You'll just wait and see. Yeah. No, and I guess we're on the same page because
totally.
I would use the word control, but I think manage is a better word. It's the not lashing out with my emotions because my feelings were hurt, right? Or having this resentment, or I have, and I don't know where this comes from, but I have these like things with trust, you know? I'll trust you until I can't, you know? Until you've proven otherwise. But those personal, those things that
otherwise, it's completely over forever.
Right. It's like hard line. It's going to take a lot to get you back. Yeah.
And then even then it won't be the same.
Right.
Because I know that the potential to hurt me is there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Nope. Totally. Absolutely.
And so, so like for me, it's something like that where I go the extreme side of things, and I don't want to have those, you know, you calling your mom is a perfect example of me being like, and I've started to do this more with Dana and my wife, and just be like, hey, like, I'm really hurt by this, not by her, but like something, you know, and just talking it through and like helping kind of bring myself back down, I guess, to reality in some ways. So they get fired up about that kind of stuff, or something that's like hurt me or whatever. But yeah, and I don't know where that comes from exactly, but yeah, it's something that maybe it's the foreignness, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably just a combination of a lot of different factors.
Yeah, so in managing those emotions, managing those feelings, managing appropriately, you know, instead of having those like visceral responses that I like don't feel like I'm in control of. But actually managing those emotions where I'm like, I don't have to say the first thing that comes to my mind whenever I've been slighted or hurt, or, you know, feel wronged or upset because you cut me off and whatever. Slowed down on the road.
Totally. I totally feel that. I also, like, I have both the blessing and the curse of being able to come up with really good zingers on the spot. And everything within me to not use that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, do you know how deeply I can cut you?
Yeah, right?
I could whittle you down to your core with one word.
Yeah.
And it's so that, like, they're really, it takes a lot of, like,
I have to know my, like, place and yeah, I have to know my environment. If I feel safe in that environment, or if that's one that I can like throw those zingers in, watch out. But yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's rough, man.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, I would love to just rip it out.
Yeah.
Part of that comes from having a very, very 8 sister growing up. Eights are the challenger, and so they're the ones who, like, to test your love for them, they'll just pick a fight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't understand this, but damn, she had good zingers growing up. And I learned from her, but I was also, like, deeply hurt by many things that Carissa said growing up. And so it just, yeah. Oh,
you learn
like,
to protect yourself with your words. You said you learn to protect yourself with your words.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes that means fighting right back.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate it.
Yeah, right? Because you feel terrible afterwards, like later.
Oh,
but,
totally.
But at the moment, you're like, haha, I gotcha,
I'm
sucker.
really good at coming up.
Sorry, I won.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's
or
funny.
the terrible, I'm sorry you feel that way. Oh.
Yeah.
Nothing has hurt me more than, well, that's an overstatement, but there have been times when I'm like, don't you dare apologize for my reaction to your assholeness. It is not my fault that you're being an asshole.
I love that. That's awesome.
Totally.
Oh, so funny. Yeah. And it's funny, you mentioned something earlier too with, you know, being the like black sheep, you know, of the family or whatnot. And that like hit home with me because I'm an only child. So like I had this, I wasn't the black sheep, but I didn't have anybody else, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that fosters a lot of my fourness and some of that. But yeah, sorry, I just thought that was like little bit that stuck in my head. So
yeah, absolutely.
Where do you work now? What are you up to now?
Yeah, so after Bethel, I started working at a middle school. I was a voice teacher for about 4 years.
What does that entail? What does it mean to be a voice teacher?
Basically, I was really lucky that there were a lot of students that were interested in taking voice lessons, but I didn't work for the school. I basically ran my business within the school. So that meant a lot of learning how to be an organized human because I never learned that before. And like learning how to do taxes by yourself as a self-employed entity. And all those things that I'm so not good at.
Yeah.
And I can, you know, my mind can function in that way, but it just doesn't naturally fit there.
Yeah.
I'm much more the like, I would much rather be the crazy voice teacher stereotype than anything. But there's a whole lot of business on the back of that. So I ended up, you know, having access to a building and being able to kind of have my own office within the choir room. And I was really fortunate to work at a school where the music program was a really strong program. And all students every year were required to take an art class.
Okay.
And so there was a full choir for every grade level, plus elective choirs. And that was a full class. So a full hour every day for like 5 days a week. So there were full choirs at every grade level. There was a band for every grade level. There was an orchestra and a piano lab. So a really strong music program. And so I would basically just come in. I would schedule my lessons throughout the week, and I would just snatch kids out of choir class and teach them one-on-one. So we would
Cool.
work more closely on like technique and artistry, um, and a lot of it was kind of figuring out the insecurities and the anxieties and frustrations and all of that that were leading to vocal issues, not necessarily like the actual physical voice box or vocal
Yeah.
cords or diaphragm or whatever, like
A
there's a lot
mentoring rule and
anatomically, there's a lot anatomically that goes into singing, but it's like, I would say like 96% mental.
yeah.
So if your mind isn't in the right place, your body won't be either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's all so connected.
Yep.
So a lot of it would be like the first lesson, I'm like, okay, sing this pattern, whatever, play it on the piano, and then the kid opens their face and doesn't make a sound, and I'm like, okay, why are you scared to sing in front of me? And that, like, first question, can you make sound in front of me?
I don't know.
Exactly. So they're like, nervous, and it's like that squeaky
that
middle
was so
school,
good.
anxious, whatever. Like, totally every time. And so they would have a half hour with me a week, or sometimes a half hour twice a week, depending on kind of what they signed up for. And I did that for about 4 years, and then it became so. But like through that time, I, kind of like peaked at my like emotional stamina, and then just really hit a wall. And I was like, I understand that middle school is the worst time to be alive, but I just don't want to hear about it anymore. Like, I can't sustain this.
Yeah.
And I really just, it was so heavy and frustrating, and like I found it such a burden to go to work, and I was like, this isn't what I want anymore. Like, I want to teach music to students who love music and don't find it to be heavy.
Yeah.
This is not what I like. This isn't what I wanted. And so, and it was also just like not a great environment with the. It just wasn't what I wanted anymore.
Yeah.
And what I needed to, like, the environment that I needed to be in. And I felt really isolated and lonely, and I felt like I didn't have a lot of community. And this was while I was working in churches and felt really isolated from my faith as well. And so it was just kind of a lot, all compounding together.
Overwhelmed time,
so,
sounds like.
Yeah, totally. And again, it wasn't like one specific thing. It was just kind of all of it. And so I ended up leaving that and kind of transitioning into my current job, which I'm a business office manager at a memory care community, which
cool.
is pretty much the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Middle school voice lessons
to elderly seniors.
Yeah, totally.
With memory issues.
So we require a dementia diagnosis for admission to live in our community.
What did you say your title was again? It's a
business office manager.
Business office manager.
So that means that there's currently 56 dementia patients living in the same building, which means like a lot of weird shit happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many just funny and strange stories that I could tell you that are just ridiculous, and some really heartbreaking ones as well.
Yeah.
But it's a lot.
Well, I was a caregiver. I don't know if you know, but I was a caregiver for elderly seniors, and mostly most of my clients were, had dementia or Alzheimer's of some form,
Dude, you get it.
Yeah,
so in it.
Yeah, I was doing 24-hour shifts and with a couple different clients. So, yeah, I would stay with them in their homes, in their condos or their homes or whatever. And
oh my word.
Yeah, so yeah, and then I worked in the office at the same place. as the scheduler, the lead scheduler there. So yeah, no, I gotcha. I know exactly where you're coming from. The stories are endless, and both in heartbreak and in like beauty and in hilarity and all of the above.
Insanity.
Insanity.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, my job is to do all the minutia of what a business takes to operate. So all the like, accounts payable, which is like invoices that come in for, like lights and like, I don't know, linens and all of that stuff that a building needs. Pest control, whatever.
Right.
So kind of doing all of that. And then accounts receivable, so like charging rent and stuff, asset management, payroll, HR, just all of it.
Yeah.
So, like,
that's a fun gig though.
It is.
I like very much could see myself in a role like that. That's like it's like the jack of all trade, master of none, but like staying busy.
All of them, that everything is.
Yeah. But you're like busy, everything's different every day, constant change, like not stuck in one little like monotonous like thing you do every day, but kind of similar. You can hit your routine, hit your stride, hit your routines, and yet at the same time it's enough change of pace to keep things interesting.
Yeah, totally. And it's nice to know that no 2 days are going to be the same, but know that everything that comes my way is something within my capability.
Yes.
So that's like a very comforting place for me to be at right now. And I needed something that was like mentally challenging, but not emotionally taxing. Because I had spent so long doing things that I can run a voice lesson in my sleep, man. Like, it's whatever. I don't struggle with the like practical how-to voice lesson. But it was so emotionally taxing that my heart just got tired.
Yep.
Because again, middle school is the worst time to be alive, and they all let you know it.
Yeah, like, they do, in a variety of ways.
A lot,
yes. Yeah. Well, I was
like, and I got to a point where like I was like, dude, I don't care what someone said 2 lunch tables over. I just want to get you to learn this song. And once I got to that point, I was like, oh, I'm not healthy in doing this anymore.
But that's
what
really you
need to not do. Like, and so I took off. I took off teaching for about 6 months. And I really dug into performing again, which I hadn't done because I was teaching so much. And I really got to love music again.
That's awesome.
And that was it's always been such a crucial part of my identity is music. And so I felt like, and I realized like when I felt disconnected from music or felt like music was just mechanical, or when I felt like music was a chore, I really felt disconnected from myself.
Yeah. And like something was missing, or like you weren't on the right purposeful path, you weren't living life on purpose, or
and so I got really got connected with the opera company in town, South Lyric Opera.
Wow.
So I'm the administrative coordinator for them, and I serve on their board. So I got really involved with them. I was actually in their most recent opera, and I had a role for the first time, and that was really exciting.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So that was really actually 2 roles. But so I got to do that and perform again, and I was really involved in musical theater as a kid, and into high school, but I hadn't acted a lot recently because I had gone more into sacred music. But then I got kind of burnt out in that community, and I was like, I miss being on stage and being in costumes, and I kind of miss the annoyingness of wigs and stage makeup and
sure.
all that. There's this routine and and kind of sacred process that happens during a show, and like you all get so crazy bonded, and I missed that. And so I got back into that, and I was really happy with that, and did 2 back-to-back shows with 2 different organizations, and while still being in a choir and also section leading at a convent, and like
Wow, that's so fun.
it just dove right back in, and it's really been like such a thrill to be performing again. And that sounds like such a like an artist thing of like, once I stopped teaching and started performing, I felt like myself again. Like, that's not what I mean at all, but
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
The
It's
teaching
not
was a
for
thing.
the glory, it's for the identity, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. You love music, and it's part of who
Yeah.
you are. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's really
That's
cool.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
it's you have performed for the, what is it, the South Bend Opera?
The South Bend Lyric Opera, so SBLO,
Nice.
is our little acronym, and I help with the administrative stuff there, because artists are like the most disorganized humans
Crazy all over the
ever.
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
so
so I'm
cool.
like, do you know what's necessary for a company? W-9s. Like, let's have contracts.
Yeah, let's
If
do
we're going to
things
pay you
so.
hundreds of dollars, maybe we should put that in writing. Like, I'm pretty good friends with the founding organizer, or the founding artistic director. And I, I told him one day, like, hey, you're going to take me out for coffee. And he was like, I am? And I said, yeah, you are. And so then we went out to coffee, and I was like, listen, I love you. I just want to say that out loud. I love you. And he's like, oh, that's really sweet. I love you too. And I was like, you're the most disorganized human I've ever met in my life.
And
He
I'm
was
gonna
like,
help you.
sure, I need to be so much better, and blah, blah, blah. And got into this, like, started on this really self-deprecating route. And I was like, hold up, I wasn't done. You're the most disorganized human ever, but I'm good at stuff like this.
Yeah,
So if you hire me,
yeah,
I
I
will
can
do
help
it
you.
for you.
Yes, exactly.
And he had like the most like crazy joy-filled look on his face, and he was like, really? I'm like, yeah, man, please let me do it.
Yeah,
I was like, I've been really hurt by a lot of organizations that are so disorganized that they can't function. And I, in fact, was hurt by you, and I don't want that to happen to me or other people. So let me
yeah,
just do it, please.
yeah. Let me jump into this. Let me help you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So I'm helping them out. I am on the board for the choir that I'm in, which sounds really crazy, but
Oh,
helping out with them too, and serving as a section leader representative and all of that. So
that's so cool.
it's all really cool, and I never like anticipated getting into arts administration, but it kind of makes sense with like and how my brain works in like seeing structure and order and looking at a
Mm.
system and saying like, we can do this better than we currently are.
Haha. Yeah.
Here's how to streamline this process.
Sounds familiar.
Yes. And
Huh.
I like to credit that to fours integrating into one of like seeing organizational patterns.
Man, that's a real
Uh,
thing.
but yeah, totally. But also saying, like, realizing that it's for the purpose of putting art into the world.
Mm.
And like, that's why I'm so passionate about making sure that SBLO stays, like, A, stays afloat, B, keeps artists, and C, treats them well. You know, like, I want to make sure, like, I as an artist within the organization want to be treated well,
Right.
so I want to set up the systems that make that happen.
Yeah, let's not burn bridges
Totally.
because of things that are within our power to actually, change and do differently. Let's at least do our due
Yeah.
diligence to remove things that are going to hinder our ability to be successful, and to bring talent in and keep things going. I get that.
Yeah. And let's not be victims to our own systems.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, and it's things like that. Like, it's funny because I feel so strongly about those things, and just you walk into, I can't help it sometimes. Like, restaurants are the classic thing, or like where I'm like, oh, see, you missed an opportunity here, or like
If
the
you
things
just
of
move this over here, your life will be easier.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a book. Dana's boss actually gave it to her to read. It's called "Why Are You Making It So Hard for Me to Give You My Money?" It's like Wamish is what the book is, but it's like, why are you making it so hard for me to give you my money? And the whole concept is like, you know, you're like, just don't make it so hard. Like, I want to give you my money. Why do you have to like make it and put it in these like loopholes that don't work? And I was reading this book and I was like, yes, this guy gets it. Like, he gets it. But it's those things, and and
streamline processes.
yeah, like,
Totally.
just it doesn't have to be difficult. It's just like working with people and making them happy in so many ways. Like going a little bit out of your way. It doesn't, just because it doesn't fit your little box doesn't mean, or whatever it is. But
or like stop going out of your way.
Or stop going out of
Often the easiest solution is
stop. Do something. Yeah, stop.
Like
Hold up here.
Yeah. And just to be a yes man, and like I can totally whatever. And like if it's easier for someone to hand you a check and you get it to the right people later, great.
Yeah.
Say yes. Don't say
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Tessa, what would you say you're most proud of to date?
Ooh. I think something that I'm most proud of is my emotional stamina through through relationships, through jobs, through whatever, and like my ability to be with someone through the fullness of a process of something. Because like if you experience a traumatic thing, you can call someone and say like, hey, this thing just happened, I need help, and that person can come, but like there's a years long process behind it.
Yeah.
And you need people at every step of that. And so there have been a lot of people that have gone through terrible things that I feel like I'm able to, this sounds really conceited as I'm like saying it out loud, but I feel like I'm able to kind of live through it with them day by day. And even if all I can say is, man, that really sucks.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
Like I don't need a solution. I need someone to just sit in this with me.
Yep.
And I'm just starting to realize that that's the truest way that I know how to love people. And to me, that's just what love is. It's me being here for you.
Yeah.
At every step, no matter the like, it's a very sacrificial mindset and posture to live in, but that's what I want to be. Like that's both who I am and who I want to be.
Yeah. And it gives you purpose and value, and it feels good to be there for people.
Different faces. Yeah, totally. It can have so many different faces and so many different kind of ways to look out, but like I just kind of, I want to be that person that people can say like, oh, she's gonna be there for me through this.
Yeah.
And if I need anything, she's the one who's gonna stop at a pharmacy at 3:00 in the morning and come bring me whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of that's just who I want to be. And I want to be that person and be that fierce friend.
I love that.
And I think that's something I'm both proud of and proud to be working toward.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
On the same note, you said kind of working toward as well. what do you look forward to most in the future? Like, do you have any goals and ambitions that you're kind of working towards right now?
Yeah. I have a dream that in the next couple of years I'm gonna go to grad school and get a master's in vocal performance. And I
Awesome.
would super love to like someday be an opera singer. And that's really my dream, is to have a debut at the Met. But
That's so cool.
yeah, totally. I know that there's a lot of steps in between there. But I feel like I'm in intermediately, I guess. I'm working on putting together a recital because I haven't done one for like 5 years. Um, so a couple years ago for my birthday, Janelle put together this recital for me, and she, like, a month before was like, hey, I have a venue, here's the time, wear a pretty dress, here are your songs, bye. And it was like the kindest and most beautiful gift that anyone has ever given me.
That's
Was
awesome.
like, here, invite your 15 closest friends who are all musicians and they're all singing too. And like, it was really gorgeous. So that's something that I'm working toward. But most of all, I just want to be working toward, or like doing the emotional work of being authentic to myself.
Yeah.
And being both unyielding in that, and also really, like, really gentle in that.
Sure.
And I don't know how else to describe that. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense to me. I don't know if everybody else out there understands what that means, but
yeah, but like being unyielding in the idea of like, this is who I am and there's nothing that you can do about it.
yeah.
But also being gentle in and generous in how I present that to the world, of like, I can put that away for a second to be here for you.
Yeah.
And this doesn't need to be about me right now, but I am gonna set firm boundaries.
Yeah.
But I will give you every ounce of what is within your boundary.
I feel that.
And experiencing the fullness of those relationships without signing on for more emotional baggage and trauma.
Yeah. I get it. I totally get that. Yeah. I 100%.
Yeah.
That is like, I feel very much strongly about that as well. It's like trying to do those exact same things of being authentic, being I'm going to give, I'm not going to commit to something that I'm not willing to go all in with, and so I'm going to draw boundaries and I'm going to, do those things, but when I've committed to something, like, I'm yours, and like,
Yeah.
you know that I'm here for you, and you know that
Yeah.
that's something that I'm going to give, and within, like you said, within that boundary, within whatever that parameter might be. But
yeah, and just practicing radical kindness. That is something that I've found so much, like, warmth and freedom in relationships where people are practicing radical kindness.
I'm writing that down. Radical kindness.
I love it. And it's such a beautiful thing when it's lived out in, like, a really free and giving way.
Yeah.
And so
that authentic. It's the
yeah.
I keep saying this is like, it feels good to do good, but the intention has to be good as well. And that's the caveat, right? Is that as long as the intention is in good faith, and like you intend to do good with a good intention, like your heart is in the right place, you're not trying to like do good to swindle somebody out of money, or that kind of thing, like, I think it's great and it feels good. Like, if you're doing it genuinely from your heart, authentically, and it's something that means something to you, it feels great. It's awesome. And I want more people to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's so much disunity within the world, that even the smallest acts have become radical.
Yes.
But that's something that I want to be doing, and I want to be practicing. And and practicing freely and honestly, and like the idea that, you know, there's a love shared out of obligation isn't love, and and like community without kindness is not free. And you know, like all of these ideas that there's, it has to be free, it has to be honest, it has to be true, it has to be real, you know, like all of these things. But once it is, it's the most glorious thing ever.
Absolutely.
Ever. And it's so beautiful. And so, like, sure, I can prattle on about my career dreams and whatever, but I'm more concerned about who I want to be rather than what I want to do.
Perfect. Let's wrap it up there. We got
Shane, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. You want to leave us with anything? You want to plug anything? I know you've got your own part of a podcast with your sister as well.
Yeah,
plug it, girl. Plug it.
Yeah, so Janelle and I, we co-host a podcast called First Women. I think we're hilarious. Some other people think we're funny. Some other people think we're annoying. And you know what? We just don't care as long as you're listening. That's not fully true, but you should totally go listen.
I love it.
We basically just tell each other the story of the first woman to do blank. So we're telling these stories of badass lady pioneers and finding so much like feminist zeal in it, and it's so good. There is a lot of swearing. There is always a good stiff alcoholic drink.
Got it. It's mandatory, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Like we plan who we're like whose story we're sharing, and also our cocktails with the same amount of
attention. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
it's so
totally. And I actually used to be a bartender, and so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this cool whatever fuck thing. And Janelle's like, cool, I'm just gonna drink it. And I'm like, great, that's all I want. Like a couple several episodes ago, I ended up making this like really complicated lavender elderflower gin thing, and she was like,
yeah, girl.
And I was like, man, it's so much more than that, you don't get it.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's fine, I'm gonna drink a lot. Like, okay. That's super awesome. And it really, like, our schedules have just gotten insane, and so we haven't released an episode in a few weeks, but we are working on it. But we can be found at soundcloud.com/firstwomen. And we have about 10 episodes up, and they're all awesome.
Love it.
And so that's super awesome. I also want to plug South Bend Lyric Opera. You can find us at southbendlyricopera.org. You can support us there. You can learn about some of our artists there and our upcoming shows and stuff. So that's a little baby organization trying to get off our feet. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much, Tessa.
You're so welcome.
This was so much fun. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. I would love to.
All right. Thank you all so much for listening. Really appreciate it. Once again, tune in Thursday. That's tomorrow, or today if you're listening on Thursday. Thanksgiving Day at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Our Thanksgiving edition of Thee CrazyFaceUno Live. That's 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Feel free to tune in and share your stories and give some thanks to the world. If you enjoyed the show today, visit us on Facebook and Instagram, where you can like and comment on our posts. If you want to go above and beyond, please share the Crazy Face Uno podcast with your friends, family, or random strangers on the street. Welcome to everyone. Thank you all so much. Love you. Peace!